Welcome to the channel. I'm Teresa. I'll give it a few minutes for someone to start coming in here, but I definitely want to take this moment to welcome you to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Let me get myself situated here as well. Okay. Let's see what I can do over here. Like I said, I want to thank everybody for stopping by today. And actually, even if you stop by or if you're watching this in replay, I literally just uploaded tablet 8, I believe it was, in the compendium of the Emerald tablet. So definitely be on the lookout for that. If you can't join who we got coming in here. Hi, Ram. How are you? Thank you for stopping by and joining me today. Actually, just giving just a minute for a couple folks to get in here, and then we're going to get started. And where are you from, dear? Awesome. Hi, Denji. How are you? Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for subbing and for stopping by. And you're from PA, for Pennsylvania. Awesome. Awesome. Glad to have you here. Before we get rolling really good, I'm doing quite well. I am. I'm doing very well. Thank you. And I wanted to get in here. My lives are a little bit different. It's not just you've been drinking water. Okay, that's good. Hi, Arun. I hope you're doing well. Yep. Um, Yesterday in the live, we got to talking about synchronicities and angel numbers and things like that. And I actually had something that happened to me that I kind of wanted to share with the soul family because it reminded me of that. It kind of fed directly into that. My day is going well. Thank you, official. J Dub. Nice to have you come in here. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, whenever last night in the live, the subject of angel numbers and synchronicities came up. And of course, anytime there's a live, there are trolls and stuff that come to, and oh my goodness, were they out in full force last night because I got on a little bit later than I normally did. But we had a really good time. Everything was cool, all of that. Now, I'm going to leave a few details out, but I'll get back to them. But the synchronicity for me that came in, that live stream went way longer than I had intended. And I got off of it. I didn't wind up getting to bed until about 2:30 in the morning. At 4:44 in the morning, I actually had a pretty disturbing situation. Not super disturbing, but I don't know if you ever heard of those situations where they talk about sleep paralysis, or like say some of the country folks say the witch is on your back or the devil is on your back, whatever, but you wake up feeling like you can't move. You're not quite in your body, not quite out of your body, but you just can't move and you feel like you're kind of under attack. And that happened to me last night. And it was so weird because this happened to me. It's not like it just started happening to me. That used to happen to me a lot as a child. And it doesn't happen to me a lot anymore. It hasn't happened to me in years recently, but it happened to me last night. And when Macy, okay, I'm gonna leave that alone for a minute. But if you come in here proselytizing, you will be removed from the chat because Yeshua is very near and dear to me, but I would not have no Sunday school Bible thumper preachers in here. That's not what we're about here. That is not what my channel is about, and I'm not going to have it. Okay, fair warning. Anyway, but yeah, Ram, that used to happen to me a lot when I was younger. Hi, Arno. Nice to have you here. Um, but as I was raised Jehovah's Witness, so I was always taught to call on Jehovah when that happened. Now, if you have been around my channel any amount of time, you will understand that now that I went on a quest to really understand the nature of Jehovah or Yahweh, I no longer subscribe to that because I learned who he really is. So, yes, I absolutely love Yeshua HaMashiach. I do not mess with Yahweh, period, any kind of way. However, when this happened to me in my sleep last night, the programming is strong. Hi, Elliot. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming in and joining us. Um, when it happened last night, it was just kind of a knee jerk reaction. And in my sleep, I was calling on Jehovah. Well, it didn't work because last night in the live stream, I went in pretty harsh on Yahweh. It probably is a lot of yours, and truthfully, some of that growling may be you trying to speak because that happens to me sometimes too, Ram. But what I experienced last night in the dream, it was almost like these tentacles or like spidery looking things, huge, coming down towards me. So I started calling on Jehovah. That didn't work. And I'm hearing whatever the noise or talking, grumbling, whatever in my ear off to the side. Now, I could have called on Yeshua and that would have been fine. But again, like I said, from childhood, I was programmed to call on Jehovah. So I didn't go there. That wasn't working. So what I did was said, as because I was getting more frustrated, and it seemed like they were coming in. I'm feeling kind of, I can't move. And I said, Inky says no. And the moment I said, Inky says no, everything stopped. I opened my eyes just in time to see the clock change from 4:44 to 4:45. That tells me a couple of things. Number one, I made a misstatement a while back. It was my understanding that once I learned who Yahweh was and kind of divorced myself from Yahweh, such as it is, he understands that. And it's almost, I thought that, I can't even say I have his protection. As far as I know, Azazel is not an angel I would mess with. I do not believe Azazel is from the light. You have to remember, like the scriptures say, we battle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. Everything that we call an angel in our ignorance and misinformation is not truly on our side or working for the light or the divine or anything else. Fact of the matter, quite a lot of it ain't if it's rocking out in a Yahwist platform. It just really is. But just like Samael. Now, within the tarot, it said that I think Uriel kind of tempers the energy of Samael to keep him in. But yeah, Azazel, whatever, I wouldn't mess with him because I don't know enough about him. I stick with what I know. Michael, Raphael, Yeshua, Metatron, Sandalphon. I know they're with the light. They that's plenty enough protection for me. Walking with 5 ascended beings like that, I'm good. Yeah. Um, but once I woke up and realized what had happened, I had said that now that I understood who Yahweh was and peeled back from him, that he doesn't really mess with me. And like I said, angels protect me, demons respect me to some degree. But Yahweh's minions don't really respect me. And that was real evident with all of the minions and craziness that jumped in off in the live last night. Oh, they was coming, the Bible thumpers, to all the rest of that. Hi, Rajiv. I appreciate that, but please, I'm not nobody's baby, so I don't know where that came from, but you can take that back where it came from. Um, But it gave me a more important message that Inky really is protecting me. So angels, demons may respect me to a degree, but I have to remember when you out here walking amongst these people, yeah, 5 iron candle. Yeah, honestly, when you're under attack like that, but here's the thing, a lot of people don't understand, and I had to stop and think about that. With all of the paranormal activity on this planet, people still don't understand that what they're leaning their faith in is not really the way they should go. Whether you are, let's see, Jews worship Yahweh under the name of Yahweh, Christians call him Jehovah, Muslims call him Allah, but 3/4 of the planet is worshiping Yahweh in one form or another. More than that, if you look at the Satanists and the Luciferians too. So you would think if that really is the truth and Yahweh really is the way we're supposed to go and he really is the Almighty, why are most of the people that are still serving him under demonic attack, especially during this day and time? Why? That should tell everybody that's still trying to figure out, blur their eyes and ignore the truth and still trying to serve him, that should tell them something. Yeah, the more you fight it, but again, you can ride it out. I don't like that feeling, and I'm not going to just lay there and let them have their way with me. I call on my angelic and or spiritual help. Calling on Yeshua will get you some relief. Calling on Jesus will not, because Jesus means hail Zeus. That's right back to Yahweh. But if you call on Yeshua, Archangel Michael, or like I said, in my case, I called on Lord Enki and I got immediate relief. If I had a message to the world, that has to a large extent been my message to the world. My message to the world is the same as Yeshua's message to the world was, that you have been misled and bamboozled. Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah is not who or what you think he is. He is a dragon. His initial name was Yaldabaoth. He has been known as Baal, Dionysus, Yao. His initial title when he came here from Nibiru was Satan of the Eden. He is a dragon. He is the destroyer. He told Abraham in the Bible he was El Elyon, which means the destroyer. And he is that Satan that the scriptures describe that's going to be destroyed in Revelation. That is Yahweh, the same dragon they've been worshiping for thousands of years. Yeshua came here and told people, I'm not from here. You don't know my father. You worship your father, the devil. He was talking directly to the Jews who were worshiping Yahweh. So, what do Christians do after the Jews hated him so much for telling the truth? For years, he was running around Israel saying, you do not know my father. You worship your father, the devil. And they unalived him. The Jews hated him so much for it that they got the Romans to go unalive him. And then the Romans turned around and created this mashup of a religion so that they could push Yahwism out into the world by remixing it and renaming Yahweh Jehovah, and pushed it right on out. And Yeshua said that would happen. He said, after I'm gone from this place, that a great deceiver would come along and lead humanity lost for thousands of years. And that's exactly what happened. 100 years after they executed him, they turned around and wrote the Gospels. And then about 10 or 20 more years after, about 120 years out, Paul came along in cooperation with the very much non-Yeshua following Emperor Constantine, and they remixed the Bible and created the New Testament and rolled out Yahwism to the rest of the world on the end of a spear in the name of conquering lands. They went on a massive land grab and unalived 80 million people around the planet to establish Yahwism around this planet. and humanity has been lost ever since. 5 iron candle, thank you. Honestly, you mess with the occult if you want to, but truthfully, that falls back to Yahwism too. And I just won't fool with him in any way, shape, or form. And well, it depends on what area of occult, because occult simply means hidden. And a lot of the older mystic, Gnostic, and those type things were labeled as occult because they are hidden information. If you're dealing with Satanism or Luciferianism, I would not mess with that. If you're looking into the Kabbalah or Gnostic information, then I would be. Yeah, religion is fake. The word religion comes from the Greek word religare, which means to bind or hold back. It's always been a deep fake designed to keep people ignorant. Honestly, if you're wanting to hear that information, I would highly encourage you, Martin, subscribe to the channel. If you go into my playlist, Modern Mystic Loved Ones, I talk more about it in general. There's a couple of videos. One of them is called What Every Christian, Muslim, and Jew Needs to Learn. Yeah, I've heard of Malachi York. It's so funny. My roommate mentioned Malachi York today. I didn't really get into his stuff. He's kind of far out there. And Yeshua took me on a different path. I am actually looking into the Anunnaki texts and some of the Sumerian and Babylonian texts, and specifically I was led to Zechariah Sitchin's work. We went through the Lost Book of Enki a couple months ago on the channel. I have that playlist on the channel as well. And right now we're into the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and the Compendium of the Emerald Tablets with Billy Carson. Once I finish the Emerald Tablets with the channel, we'll be going into Zechariah Sitchin's Earth Chronicles. I have all of his work here on the bookshelf behind me, and we'll be going into that. Okay, but here's the thing. I'm not worried about information from the future if we can't figure out how to get to the future. I get it, time isn't linear, but there are certain things that are not time dependent on this planet. According to all of the ancient texts, our path is consciousness dependent, according to Thoth. And I'm tending to believe what Thoth said over Malachi York because Thoth was here. He was the second one that got here. I have Jesus, baby. His name is Yeshua, not Jesus. I don't need the dragon, Hail Zeus, because that's what Jesus means. Hail Zeus. Know what you talking about, says Art, and you on your way up out of here with that. If you don't like what I have to say, carry your behind right on up out of here. That's what you got to do. Exactly. The Anunnaki story is the Bible story. Genesis chapter 1, where it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. That is not the same God that showed up in chapter 2. By the time they get to chapter 2, and the Lord God saying, let us make man in our image, those are the Anunnaki, Enlil and Enki. And Rudolf Steiner knew that 100 years ago, Cesard. If you want to know about Jesus, yeah. All of those begots and who begot who and who begot who in the first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch. I've been reading the Bible my whole life, but I had to get to where I could understand it. And once you understand that the word Elohim does not mean God, that's been mistranslated. It means powerful ones. And El Shaddai means sons of the powerful ones. El Elyon means the destroyer. And the Elohim, a singular is Eloha, but the Elohim, I don't need to read the Quran because you're saying that the Bible, the religion has been evolving, but for me to continue swamping around in a bunch of Yahwist religions would be me devolving, not evolving. Because if you go back to the Anunnaki text and understand who Yahweh is, again, the Quran is supposed to be based on Muhammad, peace be upon him, his conversations with Allah, which is the name Yahweh was using when he approached Muhammad, peace be upon him. But Yeshua did not rock with Yahweh. Exactly. The Talmud, the Quran, the Torah, all of that. But the Bible is one that if you know what you're reading, you can get some of the truth out of it, because the Bible, truthfully, I could never understand as a child how it was they're saying that it's all about this one particular God. Everything in the Bible supposedly is about Yahweh. But if you actually read a lot of the scriptures, it makes Yahweh sound schizophrenic, because one minute he's loving and he's just and he's kind and he's merciful, and the next he's turning around and telling people to go in there and have the men of the tribes that if they want to deal faithfully with the Israelites, have them all get circumcised, and while they're being circumcised, unalive them all. When the nation of Israel came out of Egypt, out of slavery, they didn't know what was going on. They stuck at the foot of Mount Sinai while Moses and Yahweh went up in the land to get the. They were not actively serving Yahweh at that point. And when they made a calf to back to their gods, because they didn't know if Yahweh was even coming back, he threatened to unalive the entire nation of Israel because he was mad. According to the Babylonian text, he wanted to wipe out all of humanity because they made too much noise and woke him up from his sleep as they were discharging the duties that he had them made to do. Yahweh ain't cool. You said what? Exactly. If they read the Bible, they would not be religious, but neither would Jews if they read the Torah and knew what they was reading. Neither would Muslims if they read the Quran. All of those factions want to make themselves be right and the other two wrong, but all three of them turn their worship back to Yahweh. And Yahweh's real name is Yaldabaoth, the dragon. And like I said, they Enlil in his rage and anger when Enki. Let's back up a little bit. According to the more ancient text, the Bible is one of the newest of the texts, because they mashed up a whole lot of different beliefs and stories and put them in there as if it's a contiguous story, and it really isn't. The timelines that we think we're following in the Bible are not correct. But if you look at the Anunnaki text, Enki said that they had this gold issue. They needed to save their planet. They decided to come here and get gold. There was no sentient beings here. They tried to mine the gold themselves for about 40,000 years. And eventually the workers from Nibiru said, we need help. We're about to mutiny. Get us some help. We're not digging out here in this African heat no more. And because he, as Ea of the Apsu, was an explorer, him and Thoth had made the House of Life out there. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you. And he had gone out and discovered that there was a primate out there. He said, we can give them our essence and we can create an intelligent worker to help us mine this gold. They had a whole existential crisis about whether they should do that or not. Is it messing with fate? Is it tempting destiny? They took it back to the Council on Nibiru with the 7 who judge. They decided we really shouldn't do this, but desperate times call the desperate measures. The hell with it. Go ahead and do it. They literally took a planetary. They had to get permission from the Council on Nibiru to even do that. And Enki, Ninmah, and Thoth, no, baby. The Creator did not speak everything into distance. He didn't need clay and use his hands. According to them, the clay was for the petri dishes that they did to make the artificial, the in vitro fertilization with. They fertilized the zygote, because when they first came here, they were trying to create or fertilize, like I said, to do that, and they were using vessels, laboratory vessels from their home planet, and they could not get the zygote to germinate. And they said, well, perhaps a carbon-based life form needs Earth from this venture. So they actually fertilized the initial zygote, the one that actually took, in clay vessels. And once it actually fertilized, it was inserted into Ninmah, Ninhursag, Isis. She carried the Adamu. Enki's wife Damkina carried Eve, which her other name was Tiamat. Of course, they were that advanced. Their society is over 500,000 years older than ours. They are that advanced. They came to Nibiru, according to them, as refugees from the galactic wars. There were two basic factions that came to Nibiru. They were displaced from their initial home planet, a ragtag group of survivors of some part of the galactic wars, and they came to Nibiru, which was an uninhabited planet. They set up life on Nibiru. They created government, kingship, all the rest of that for themselves. They rocked out. They knew Earth was here, Ea, on the other side of the hammer bracelet, but they never messed with Ea because every time somebody tried to go there, they would get caught up in the hammer bracelet and die. So they didn't need the gold for their jewelry and stuff. They only looked for the gold when the atmosphere started destabilizing in their home world, and their scientists figured out if they could get enough gold and pulverize it and launch it into their atmosphere, it would patch their atmospheric holes and save their home planet. They were very advanced beings. Humans are so ignorant, arrogant in our ignorance. We think we're the only somebody here. We think we're so advanced. We believe in Sky Daddy and all the rest of that stuff. We have no idea. We are genuinely, most likely, the newest of the sentient life forms in this galaxy and certainly in the universe. The nearest planets over are literally 1,000,000 years older than us. Pardon? Basically, I don't know what they're, I mean, truthfully, they could breathe earth air without the need of whatever. So their planet may have been very similar in atmosphere to us. It's just on the other side of Pluto and all of that. Well, not just on, but according to them, when they were heading towards Earth, the planets that I think they called Pluto Little Gaga, but when they started naming the planetary procession, the first planet that they reached when on their way to Ea is Pluto. And then they describe going to Jupiter and Saturn and all the rest of them marching their way just like we go Sun, Mercury, Earth, Venus, blah, blah. They describe them coming backwards. So they're on the other side of Pluto. But obviously, they're advanced enough that they could get here without dying of old age. Well, truthfully, their beings live for hundreds of thousands of years, as would we have if we had been getting the whole whoop de whoop. Again, whether or not it was their ozone layer or not, kind of, sort of, their we'll call it ozone. We don't know exactly what it was in their atmosphere because our scientists can't get out that far in space. But yes, there are higher beings in the Anunnaki. That's the point. Enlil came here and told the lie that he is the Alpha and the Omega and the be all and the end all, and he is not. He is a cat that came here and dared to play God, and that's what humans don't understand. And like I said, we are so arrogant in our ignorance. We bought the lie, hook, line, and sinker. And because our ancestors, and again, I don't want to be disrespectful to the ancestors. You do what the best you can do from where you are at that time. But if we understood how it was that people came to start serving Yahweh in the first place, if you go back to Deuteronomy in the Bible, Lamech was Abram's father. Lamech was a priest or a scribe, excuse me, not a priest. He was a scribe in the temple of Nanar, which was one of Enki's sons. And he later got meshed in that worship thing. I'm rejecting Yahweh all day, dude. If you got a problem with it, leave here. Because I do not reject Yeshua, but I do reject Jesus because saying Jesus is a binding spell back to Yahweh. Jesus means hail Zeus. That is not Yeshua HaMashiach's name. And you don't know enough about what you're talking about to correct me on that. So you go over there and keep worshiping Yahweh if you want to. I'm trying to help people see the light so they don't have to stay stuck in darkness. Thank you, Goth Peter Pan. I appreciate you. Yeah, Inky is cool. Inky is cool by me. Enlil is the one that became Yahweh, Allah, Jehovah. He is a liar. He is a manipulator. He is a dragon. He is the devil, according to the scriptures. Yeshua said he was the devil. Revelation says he is the devil. Genesis even tells you he is Satan. But in the flip side, people have turned around and decided to paint Satan as some redhead thing with a tail and a pitchfork. That's foolishness. Yeah. Oh, you're saying that Nana Sin was Enlil's son? Okay, fine. But that's what I'm saying. Lamech left the temple of Nana Sin, and his son Abram left out of Ur, which was one of the established cities. They had Eridu and Shumer and Ur and all the rest of them, and he turned around. But when Abram left Ur, things wasn't looking so good for a minute. They were facing famine and all the rest of that. Abram was an old man. He had his wife Sarai, and Yahweh, people don't understand. Yahweh and Marduk had been exiled. Y'all think Yahweh was exiled once, Marduk was actually exiled twice. But they're greedy and grasping and wanted supreme power. Marduk is Enki's son, Enlil's nephew. But Enlil, Yahweh, is the one who decided that, humans were never to know that they're not actually gods. He wanted a worship gene installed in us. He wanted to purport this lie that they were gods, and it worked. It worked fine for a while, but over time, between him and his ugly dealings with stuff, he wound up displaced from a people and displaced from land, and he wanted to reclaim them. So he told Abram, if you follow me, if you worship me, I am El Elyon. Do not make a misstep. But if you follow me, I will give you a son in your old age, and I'll make your name a mighty people. That's the promise that he gave him. But that's not actually what happened. One of the first things he did, one of his first acts with Abram, is Abram, because there was famine, they went into Egypt. He told Sarai to lie and say she was his sister because he was afraid that they would kill him to get to Sarai because she was so beautiful. And she did it. And the Pharaoh was so taken from her. I'm sure he does, but I don't need Jesus Christ to love me because Yeshua HaMashiach loves me. Thank you. And if you got an issue with it, Jeffrey, you can leave. But yeah, when they got out of Egypt, instead of Yahweh doing right by the people, he brought plagues onto the Pharaoh because the Pharaoh wanted Sarai instead of them just telling the truth. But the part that really gets me with all of that, he promised that the nation of Israel will be a great people. He promised that he would give Abram the promised land, the land of Canaan. 500 years later, not only did he not take good care of the nation of Israel, because by then they've become a nomadic land again. They still don't have no land. They're nomads. And they've been taken into captivity into Egypt. And they still wasn't worshiping Yahweh at that point. They were worshiping Moloch, which at that point I think was an iteration that ran back to Marduk. So here come Yahweh again. He gets Moses by the collar. Yo, Moses, let me tell you something. And Moses was a criminal on the run. He was a Jew that had been abandoned at birth, put in the river, raised in the Pharaoh's house as an Egyptian, but he was not truly an Egyptian. And he was upset seeing how badly the nation of Israel were being treated. So he got upset one day and struck one of the servants. Like I said, he was in the Pharaoh's house. The Pharaoh's son and him was tight. He was raised as one of Pharaoh's sons. But he got mad one day because one of the overseers was mistreating a Jewish slave, an Israelite slave, and he unalived the overseer. And then he got upset. Huh? I don't know if you really want to call me a psychic or not. I am an oracle priestess, it looked like you getting put up out of here because we not. It's not bullshit. It really isn't. But if you feel that way, you're welcome to leave. If I have to make you leave, you'll be gone for good. So bye bye. If you don't like what's happening here, keep scrolling. That's all you got to do. Arta, I'm not coming with this foolishness. Are any of my regular folks in here that would have the availability to moderate for me? Because we're not coming with silly people that don't have nothing better to do. I'm not putting up with that today. There are people here that actually want to learn. If you don't like what's happening, scroll. Don't be so useless in your life that you just sitting around wasting your time and your life showing up for something that you don't even believe in or want to do. That's foolishness. Don't be a fool. Get Goth Peter Pan. I'm gonna make you a moderator. Thank you. It really hurts. Bye bye. There you go. Bye bye. It's again, if you really want to know, read a book, because I didn't make none of this stuff up. It came from much older sources than the churches, and that's the problem. These people in their ignorance, because somebody's mama or grandmama sat them down on a pew somewhere and tell them some foolishness. And again, I'm not even knocking the mama and the grandmama, because before the age of internet, our ignorance had an excuse. We didn't know. They didn't start really discovering all of these texts until like the 1920s. I mean, they've been digging, archaeologists been digging for a hot minute, but they really started, like the Nag Hammadi library was uncovered, the the library at Nineveh, the Dead Sea Scrolls, all of that information was found in there within the past 100 years. And then the internet came out, and all of this information is now at our fingertips. If you lived in small towns or small places, none of this stuff was available to us 100 years ago, but it's available now. So when people still wanting to hold on to ignorance, that's their small mindedness. You can't let that bother you. Not necessarily. No, I'm not Michael Jackson, but you can go Arta with the foolishness. Thank you, Goth. As far as being controlled by the Anunnaki after death, no. Again, if you actually look at the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and look at the Lost Book of Enki, you would understand that where Yahweh does not have love for humanity, Lord Enki, the one who actually made us, that let us make man in our image, that was him, that was Enki, Thoth, and Ninhursag, Isis. And once he actually did that, in order for them to be fertile, he had to lend more of the Anunnaki DNA or essence. It is the full moon. I forgot about that. Yeah, happy full moon to everyone. I'm gonna probably do a full moon reading and actually pull some cards later off of the live. Once we're done with the live, I'll charge my phone back up and actually do a full moon reading for the collective while we're in that energy. So that definitely be on the lookout for that. Um, but once they actually created mankind, Enlil, Yahweh, Jehovah, only ever saw us as little more than animals and as slaves. He wanted the gold done, and after that, he basically said, let them die. He wanted us to all perish in the flood. The only reason we're still here is because Lord Enki got a messenger, got a message from a divine messenger named Galzu, and he assumed that that messenger was from the divine because it was not a messenger from Nibiru. Just like we have communications from angels, he received the communication too that gave him the dimensions of the ark and said, basically, the messenger was like, we didn't tell you to go do this, but since you've done it, mankind is to be preserved. Not to mention the fact that Noah, Ziazudra, was actually Enki's son. Enki did quite a bit of fraternization with humans, if you will. Some of it was actually necessary. After they did, yeah, I would appreciate if the likes would get up. That would be lovely. I appreciate y'all. But if like when the the flood came along, or when as far as the breeding thing, we get the story in the Bible that Adam and Eve was the first man and woman, which to a degree they were. But after about 130,000 years or so, Enki saw that the human genome was beginning to devolve back to the primate state. So what he did was very strategically, and it satisfied some. He was a little bit of a horn dog. What can I say? His wife was here, but that didn't stop him from doing his thing. Like I said, Lamech was a hybrid, Methuselah was a hybrid, Kenan was a hybrid. A lot of he did, and none of those were Enlil's people. Those was Enki's children. Well, some of them weren't directly, because the Watchers, after Marduk married Sarpanet, she was kind of sort of, she wasn't considered necessarily a early hybrid, but Sarpanet was human. Marduk married her. After the wedding of Sarpanet, the Watchers came. They had been mining gold and doing their thing up on Mars. It was 200 of them came down to Earth, and they started taking women. That's where we get the story about how the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and they were beautiful, and that all that story in the Bible. But I used to wonder, if real actual angels were to have relations with humans, we would probably explode, like for real. But angel just means messenger. They told that lie that we was gods, and they said that all of those other beings from Nibiru that we did have to see and interact with, they called them angels. Yeah, they're not just the gods. Is not just the gods of Egypt. If you actually search back and go through, they, not all of them, not some of them did. They, like I said, some of the women did just fine. Don't say nothing about Adapa and Titi's mothers didn't die. Inky made it with Dawn and Dusk, and they each get, one of them had Adapa and one had Titi, and they were known as the first civilized humans. Adam and Eve were the very first breedable pair, but Adapa and Titi were the first civilized humans, because by that time he was literally shoring up the human genome, because he saw that it was devolving. So he made it with some actual humans to create these hybrids. I was just saying Enlil didn't do that, because Enlil hated humans. He didn't think we was worthy of all of that. Yeah, you know what? Bye, Denard, because you magic off some. That's what you do. Ain't nobody said nothing about magic anyway. That's just rude. But anyway, um, but yeah, at the end of the day, the Bible story, the look at all the different pantheons. If you trace back the real origins of all of those pantheons, you will find correlations in them. In the Nordic pantheon, Enlil is Odin. I think Inky is Loki, because they done told that lie on him to paint him something that he's really not. In the Greek pantheon, you got Zeus and is it Poseidon. In the Aruba, in the Yoruba pantheon, you got Olokun, and I'm not sure. I guess it to their estimation, maybe Enlil would be Oludumare. I'm not entirely sure. Um, And in the Hindu pantheon, Lord Shiva is Enlil. So, hey John, how are you? Good to have you here. Hey Kane, good to have you. Say what now about the brotherhood? Look, did you? No one has ever heard me say nothing about Aleister Crowley on my channel. It's the first time his name ever came out of my mouth, and I've had this channel up for 2 years. So if you don't know what I'm doing here, don't put stuff on me that I didn't say or do. But truthfully, the Brotherhood of Light is not a bad thing. They're here to disseminate light. It ain't got nothing to do with some of that other stuff. But a lot of those folks, and again, I'm not saying that everything that Crowley did or said was wrong. I'm not saying that everything that Malachi York, those are different areas of spirituality that I was not encouraged to wave into. I'm very much all about Yeshua HaMashiach, what he did when he was here, and taking up the mantle where it was left when they unalived him. He is, in my opinion, and according to world events and things that I look back on when I was led to examine it, the Millerites said that they felt like Yeshua returned or would return in 1844. They were very disappointed. They called it the Great Disappointment because they were looking for him to come back physically. I believe he's back. He's just not back physically. And they don't understand because they're looking for him to come back and be aligned with Christianity or Judaism or something else. And he clearly told me if he did come back here in physical form, he would not be involved with none of the religious organizations on this planet. He would sit down and braid another whip because they have seriously misappropriated everything that he said and everything that he stood for. They knit him, they unalived him and knit him in the midst of their lie that perpetuates Yahwism. And that's exactly opposite of what he was telling people to do. Like I said, he literally spent 3 years roaming everywhere, preaching and teaching, telling them, you do not know my Father. My Father is love. My Father does not judge. His judgments are kind. You don't know my Father. You're worshiping your father, the devil. Do what? I don't know about the reincarnation. I believe that reincarnation does happen. I don't know about within 6 months and all that. And truthfully, at this stage in the game, before we can even worry about reincarnation, we have to get to a point of being able and willing to discern the truth. Who are we reincarnating to, and for what, and for why? There is a huge blinding and binding of humanity that has happened, and that's one of the reasons that I turn around and say, what? Now, honestly, Crimean, that's one of the things, I didn't know that Thoth and Enoch were the same, considered the same in Islam. Truthfully, according to the Anunnaki text, Enoch would be Metatron now, and I'm not sure if, but I did have a conversation once I started going through the Emerald Tablets again. Hermes Trismegistus is referred to as the thrice born. And Thoth, he's the thrice born or the third incarnation of Thoth. So I get that part. But if you actually look at John, the Gospel of John in the Bible, from everything that I've read and seen and gone through John and seeing what Yeshua was saying and pointing back to, I believe with everything that I am that Yeshua was the second incarnation of Thoth. I really believe that. Let me see. Because if Christ, you said if Christ was about love, then why do Christians serve and sacrifice and pray to false gods or false idols? Because they've been led lost. I just said the folks that unalive Yeshua is the folks that wrote Christianity. So the fact that people still following the dragon in the name of Jesus, but Jesus means hail Zeus. Zeus was Yahweh in the Greek pantheon. It's a huge deception. And they actually enact black magic every single year. That whole the crucifixion story and the Easter story and all of that stuff that they do, they are enacting a dark magic spell over Yeshua. There's a scripture, I think it's in Isaiah, Daniel, somewhere it says that any man that is hung by a tree is accursed and his generation is cursed. And every year they reenact that passion play with him having to march the cross up to Golgotha into Calvary and having the Last Supper, drink my blood and eat my flesh. And they reenact that to keep that blood spell going. And every prayer that they pray unto Yahweh in Jesus' name, which is a binding spell back to Yahweh, and sealing that prayer with Amen, which is another binding spell to Amun Ra. Christianity is black magic, and people have no idea. They quick to tell you, you need Jesus, the shed blood of Jesus. They don't even understand how crazed they sound. They become so bloodlustful in following this demonic bloodlustful God that they believe that the idea that a man was slain to buy back their sinful state is a good thing. And they turn around and celebrate his death every year. They wear the emblem of the cross, sometimes with his broken body hanging on it, a murder weapon. And they think that's a good thing. They put it on their churches, they put it on their cars, they put it on their t-shirts, they tattoo it on their bodies, they wear it as jewelry, all of that stuff to keep that memory of unaliving this beautiful teacher alive, and convinced everybody that that's a good thing. It is dark magic of the worst sort, because it's got all of these people blind. Scriptures tell us whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. They also tell you that one of the greatest tools that the devil has is his anonymity, making people believe that he don't exist. Everything they hide the truth in plain sight. Under the laws of Luciferianism, they have to. They put it right there in the book, but the people with the funny hats and the robes and all that done mixed and remixed and interpreted it so till they got people willing to buy into damn near anything. And I'm here to help set the record straight for those who want to learn. You said, why has Christ been in Ethiopia for millions of years? I don't know that he has. They tell the tale that the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia, and it may be because that radioactive box, all of them priests that sit with that thing that have been sitting with it, they all wind up going blind and showing real symptoms of radiation poisoning. That don't mean Christ is there. That just means that they have a relic from the Anunnaki days that is still there. Again, oh, Crystal, you know what? I want to tell you about these clouds. So let me grab this Bible over here, because we're gonna go to church today, y'all. We're gonna go to church. Let me get this, because it's something people need to understand here. I can't. I'm sorry. I think I had my Bible out. Beg pardon. I was doing some research earlier. I'm not sure exactly where. I had one that was already highlighted with some of the scriptures that I wanted to look at. I think I left it upstairs. Oh my goodness. I'm aggravated now. Because, hold on. I might still be able to find what I'm looking for. It's not a copy I have that is already highlighted, because I actually have a conversation that I had is talking about John chapter 1, verse 1. And if you'll go to my playlist, Modern Mystic Loved Ones, and look at either John chapter 1, verse 1, and John 3:16, or the Resurrection Day message. Yeah. No. First off, let me see. Because he was a Nazarite by birth. But Jesus, he may have been a Nazarite by birth. There are different aspects of Judaism, but Jesus was an Essene or an Edomite by religious faith. He was not a practicing Jew that the rest of them had. That's what people don't really understand. And King David's kingdom don't really figure into any of this. Again, that. Hold on. It doesn't matter if your Bible is 198 years old or not, Cain, because all of this stuff happened thousands of years ago. Guess what? Nobody had a Bible. Nobody on this planet has got a Bible that's more than 500 years old, because that's when they actually compiled all of these into the Bible that we know today. Before then, it was illegal for anybody to have the sacred text. They would literally go to prison or be unalived if they had it. Christ's bloodline is more than just in Ethiopia, because let y'all tell it again, you can't have it both ways. If you want to tell the Christian lie, they said that Yeshua was single and they unalived him at the age of 33. They literally cut his bloodline at the root. Let them tell it. So you can't have it both ways, Kurt. Of course, I believe in law of attraction. Sure do. But let's see here. I wanted to go to something I wanted them to look at. This, I don't have this version marked up the way I'd like to. But even if, look, in the John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That don't even make sense unless you translate it the way it's supposed to be translated. In the beginning was the Word. That is a mouthpiece of communication. Yeshua was known as the Word and the Logos. Thoth was known as the Word and the Logos. Yeshua was known as the Son of Man. Thoth was known as the Son of Man. Yeah. Well, they took some of the if well that's just it. The Bible is one book made up of a whole bunch of amalgamated, remixed texts that were put together in a certain way. But if you look at the other text, the older text, that's why I'm going back through Zechariah Sitchin's work. Sitchin translated the Lost Book of Enki and several others of the Anunnaki text because not only could he read Hebrew, he also was able to translate cuneiform. So he went and did a lot of that translation work. He made it his life's work. And people just want to blow over that. There's some people that read it, but you know, I actually have not read all of the Bhagavad Gita. I may eventually. I've got so much backed up reading and stuff, but yeah, he was able to read Aramaic as well. But at the end of the day, you don't have to read everything to get the information you need. And I think that's part of the issue. So many people want a specific aspect to be right. They want you to read the Bible and the Quran and the Torah before they'll believe what you got to say. Why would I waste my time with that when I know they all point back to Yahweh, and Yahweh is a liar and a dragon? When you go to the older text, and again, I get it, because the Egyptian folks, they follow the netter. They want to stay in that pantheon. The pagan folks want to stay over in the Wiccan thing. The Nordic people want to stay over there in their pantheons. Me, I wanted to go right back as far back as I could go, which is the Anunnaki and the Sumerian text. That's the oldest that we know of here. Yeah. But when you look at John, she was talking about the clouds and stuff in Revelation. Oh, not only with that coming in the clouds thing, that's the way that they got over to make us believe that they were gods. We were never to see their faces. So every time they showed up in the scriptures, it was with clouds and flame and fire, the burning bush, the building. When Yeshua was baptized, the dove came down, and out of the clouds they heard a voice that said, "This is my son, the beloved, whom I have approved." When he was transfigured, same thing. They thought Elijah and Moses had come down, but they saw two figures there, and they thought it was Elijah and Moses, and they saw the blinding light and the cloud and all of that, and they heard this voice, "This is my son, the beloved, I have approved. Listen to him." That was not Yahweh. Yahweh showed up to tempt him when he was coming through his initiation fast in the wilderness. It said that the devil came out to tempt Yeshua. It's a whole lot of stuff that predates Christianity. That's what I'm saying. People have no idea. And even when it comes down to the Christo stories and the resurrection stories and all of that, all of them have a history that is much older than Christianity, of somebody who was unalived at the age of 33 and was resurrected and all. And Nana was resurrected before any of them. She go right back to the Anunnaki story. Ananna was right there, the Babylonian story at least, way back. But the part that I started kind of looking at in Revelation 21, well, wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, in 20. And I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand, and he laid hold of the dragon, Yahweh, Yahweh, that old serpent, which is the devil, and Satan. Satan was literally his title in the Eden when they came from Anunnaki, and when they came from Nibiru. Enlil's title was Lord of the Command and the Satan of the Eden. Enki's title was Lord of the Waters and the Ea of the Apsu. Satan just meant like a governor or ruler or whatever. Let my people go is what Enlil said to Pharaoh, but in this day and age, I started hearing let my people go back in like 2020. Now Yahweh is feeding Enki. Enki is feeding Yahweh's own words back to him. He is calling for the liberation of humanity. Let my people go. We have been bound and captive when this mismanaged knowledge, bound by religion and all the rest of that stuff for far too long. Enki is wanting us free. And honestly, there probably are portals through the moon phases because Lord Enki was the one that laid out our astronomy and our astrology. He mapped out our calendars. He brought us agriculture. He brought us science. He's a geneticist. He's a scientist. He's a physicist. His brother was just a military tactician, a destroyer. That's all Enlil ever did. Enlil did not put this into place. Enlil did not give us his DNA. Enlil did not try to preserve us. He got the gold he needed and wanted to roll up out of here. Yes, Enki is good. Enlil is the one that came in and flipped the lie. He got mad because when they created, let us make man in our image. No, Jesus is not God, dear. And he never said he was. He told you he was not. You've been bamboozled by Christianity. Christianity is a lie. But when they did that whole let us make man in our image thing, Enki was doing the designing. He found the primate. He said, I think we can do this. And then Herzog, she was into the genetics thing. She was a scientist too. That's why they sent her here with him. His son Thoth was also into that kind of science and genetics and stuff. That's why they sent him. They were in the landing party to figure out how to get this gold out. But when they figured out they had to make this crew, thank you, Goth. You are on it because I'm so sick and tired of them. They are so hoodwinked and so adamant in their blindedness. Honestly, I feel sorry for them, kind of, sort of, but it's just, ugh. But when they did that, and he was basically kind of deciding the characteristics that they needed to have. They didn't want the primates to remain too hairy. We had to be intelligent enough to be able to understand language and be able to work tools and be able to be taught things and read and write and all of that other good stuff. Goodbye. Thank you. Yeah, that's insane. But at the end of all of that, Enlil showed up to put in his request. He said he wanted to worship Gene and stuff, and it took him way longer than 30 days. They were here mining gold, Joseph, by themselves before goodbye, love for Jesus. Carry yourself on out of here. Joseph, they mined that gold by themselves. It says, according to the ancient text, for at least 8 or 9 shars. A shar is 3,600 years. So literally for at least 30,000 years, they were here on earth mining the gold before humans was ever even considered being made. They made humans out of desperation because they were not getting at the gold fast enough. Their bodies were not suited for that African heat. You got to remember, they didn't have slavery on their planet. They were basically, and the ones that actually came here, thank you, Goth, I am too. The ones that actually came here from Nibiru initially was basically royalty. And they had volunteers that came to help work the gold, to mine the gold and all of that stuff. But they worked the land for 30,000 years before it got too tough. And they were like, this ain't happening fast enough. The whole world was in real danger by that point. They were having all kind of crazy earthquakes and volcanic eruptions and all of that. They were like, we got to do this faster. And that's when Inky said, I might be able to help. I'm not sure we should do this, but I think we can modify this primate and we can create workers that can help get this goal done. And Enlil said, well, if you're going to do it, you're never going to let them know we're not gods. We're going to tell them we're gods so that they'll fear us and they'll work for us. And you're going to put a worship gene in them to make them worship us. We're going to give them the genetic propensity to worship. I think the Greys come from Zeta Reticuli. I believe that's where they're from. But truthfully, the Greys have a real dirty agenda with governments on this planet, so I wouldn't even worry about where they come from because they're gonna be, they ain't somebody you want to mess with. Some people say that they're us from a future timeline. I have no idea. It don't even really matter. Um, but yeah, Enlil insisted that we have a worship gene installed in us. And after a while, after the Tower of Babel, he also insisted that our telomeres were capped. Ooh, I hope I just cracked my table. He insisted that our telomeres be capped so that we wouldn't live as long. All of that, Methuselah lived to 900 and something years, and this one and that one lived to this long and that long. Humans really did live that long at one point until Enlil said, nah, we don't want that. We're going to make them their lifespan shorter. But here's the thing, Enki was taking orders from him because their daddy, Anu, had put Enlil in charge. So he kind of sort of had to go with the program. But when he gave us a worship gene, he kind of sort of felt bad about that. It bothered his conscience. So he gave us the ability to turn it off as well. Thank you, Amanda. Appreciate you. He said, what, 500 years? What happened in 500 years, Shelley? Yeah. Anyway, y'all be arguing about the wrong stuff. You mixing and mashing. Listen. Whether we came from planets with slaves or not, slavery has been all over this planet for way too long for anybody to have an attitude about it. Yes, it's wrong. We know it's wrong. But the reason why it's done is because this planet is under the guise and the influence of Yahweh. When you worship a monster, it makes monsters out of us. I didn't say that. That's a beautiful quote from Brother Paul Wallace. I love me some Paul Wallace. Do check out his channel, The Fifth Kind, and Paul Wallace, and his last name is spelled Wallis. He is a huge expert on paleo contact. He was an archdeacon in the Anglican Church in Australia for over 30 years. He taught priests and pastors how to teach the Bible until he actually started learning the truth in the mistranslations and stuff. And he saw and understood paleo contact happened. Oh yeah, like I said, and again, Noah, his other name is Zizudra. He was a son of Enki. He was a hybrid. Of course, he lived longer. There's, but here's the thing. Okay, please understand. Yeah, he loved you too. That ain't got nothing to do. That's some Bible thumping nonsense to say. Even come in here with that. As far as the different planets and stuff, this is something that anybody that is looking at this needs to understand. Like I say, when they first came here from Nibiru, actually, let's go back before they ever got to Earth. Let's look at what they said about their own home world before they got to Earth. They came to Nibiru as refugees from the galactic wars. There were two basic factions of them. And then they chose to join forces and become a united people. And after they did that, there were other refugees that they allowed. They became a melting pot, kind of like the United States is a melting pot today. Bring us, you're tired, you're hungry, you're whatever. They just opened their doors on Nibiru and allowed refugees from all throughout the cosmos onto their planet. So when we talk about the Atlanteans, or we talk about Naborians, whichever you want to call them, they could be genetically made up from people from all different kinds of star systems: the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, the Zeta Reticuli, the Lyrans, the Orions, the on and on and on. There are so many star systems and planets out there, and even scientists today are even discovering in this galaxy there's like 30 or 40,000 planets that we don't know nothing about. And we know there's other star systems. The Dogon people of Mali have known the coordinates of Sirius B for over 500 years. We just got the technological advancement to build a telescope that could check that out and confirm it about 40 years ago. And those people still living in mud huts to this day because they chose not to integrate into modern society. But they was talking about the fish people from Sirius B 500 years ago. We really need to stop worrying about and arguing about who came from what planet. We're all part, some part or other, of extraterrestrial blood. If it were not for extraterrestrial blood and some serious technological intervention, we would all be living in trees, dragging our knuckles somewhere. Because he said, he didn't say it was a monkey. I'm not going there. For people that want to come with the ignorant racist mess, I'm not going there. But Lord Enki said that in the Apsu there was a primate. Whether evolution had gotten us to the Cro-Magnon man yet, or Neanderthal, or whatever it was, we don't know. He did not specify. But we were genetically modified from primates, all of us. None of us are any better than the other. Didn't matter whether we got Pleiadian blood in us or Arcturian blood in us or none of the rest. All of them called everything here Atlantis and Atlanteans, and we were modified. That whole petty racism thing that we still want to do to try to claim who we are and thump our chest and all that, that's some Yahweh mess. The whole idea of racism is a mind game. That's a psyop. There's no, and honestly, anybody promoting racism cannot genuinely call themselves spiritual. They are not of light and they are not of higher knowledge. That is the lowest basis form of ignorance that you can have. That's Yahweh pit people against each other that way. I'm the only one, knowing he got all his brothers and cousins and sisters and uncles and everything else all over this planet, but he was better than everybody else and everybody else was wrong. That's the beginning of that kind of stuff. And I know it's pure ignorance, because truthfully, if any of that was right, 3/4 of the planet has been involved in some kind of Yahweh worship for over 2,000 years on this planet, and we ain't had nowadays peace since. There's been a war going on somewhere on this planet, everywhere, somewhere, consistently for over 2,000 years. I'm saying we may be of the same. We are of the same race. We may be we are a separate species from Neanderthal. But I'm saying whether whether evolution had naturally happened to that point, we don't know, because they condensed 300,000 years of history in one chapter of the Bible, from Genesis 1 to Genesis 2. They left out a whole lot. They said God created the heavens and earth. We don't know how long it was here. We don't know what all was there. We know it was basically bioformed and terraformed and all of that. They had fish and wildlife and birds and all of that stuff was there. But Enki and them didn't find no sentient life. And then all of a sudden they bebop up to the Lord and the Lord God in the Eden in chapter 2 with the let us make man in our image. The God in chapter 1 and the Lord God in chapter 2, not the same individuals. The ones in chapter 2 were the Anunnaki, Hundreds of thousands of years had gone by. So we don't know if natural evolution had gotten to the point that the primates that they modified was Neanderthal, or if it was genuinely more primate along the lines of gorillas or what. We don't know, because they've been searching for a missing link to see where that happened, and obviously it was interrupted. They've never found the evolutionary link that says that it gradually happened, because it didn't gradually happen. Lord Enki and Thoth found that primate and literally boosted the evolutionary chain by hundreds of thousands of years by going in the laboratory and making a designer baby. Ta-da! Homo sapiens sapiens. Say what? Oh, well, we honestly, if we had to use tools against the powers that were evil, we can't. We would never, because they gonna stay one step ahead. Because here's the thing: in our ignorance, like we get all in ones coming with the Jesus loves you and what you got to do and all that. They're so stuck in ignorance, we could never manage to do it by our tools. The scriptures tell us we battle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. And the only way we're going to battle powers and principalities is by expanding our minds and our hearts. That's why I think I did something on my channel saying the revolution will not be televised. And that's why we're at a point of rapid evolution mentally and spiritually on this planet. And as people start awakening and coming online mentally and spiritually, and getting rid of that, turning off their worship gene and coming out from under that sleep and haze that they've been under, they will start understanding how powerful they are. Like Yeshua said, did I not tell ye are gods? And once they figure that out and stop going for the Yahweh okie doke wrapped up in religion, once they figure that out, it's a wrap for the powers that be. And that's why they fight so hard against it. But it's not going to be done. Like I said, the battle is not going to happen on a battlefield. It happens in our minds. Revelation, the apocalypse, yeah, there may be some physical skirmish, but truthfully, I honestly believe that the battle that they described in Revelation, that vision that was given to John by Yeshua, is not the spiritual war. It doesn't involve, I shouldn't say, it affects humanity. It does not involve humanity the way the church teaches us. I believe that is the final skirmish in the Anunnaki wars. The Anunnaki wars played out for hundreds of thousands of years on this planet. How do you think the Sumerian civilization disappeared? Marduk unleashed the weapons of terror, which was nuclear weapons, because he was mad at one of his cousins for getting too much power, and wiped out Schumer like that. They'd been doing that kind of stuff to each other. We were just caught in the middle. We are human, but you got to adjust your thinking as to what human is. We are something new in the universe. They debated whether it was right to do what they did, but it's been done now. And now that we have sentience, we're not going back. The creator of all said he don't want us to go back. He didn't go and tell them to go and do this, but since they jumped the gun and did it, he said that the earth belongs to the sons of man and they will reside forever upon it. It's in that book. I'm trying to see. Again, why? Honestly, Allie, you're gonna have to come up with some different conversation from that, or go on about your business, because we sitting here talking about something spiritually. Now you over here talking about people marrying 3-year-olds. That's just silly. Somebody is truly sick in the head if they marry a 3-year-old, and it ain't up to me to make the rules, but that's common damn sense. God, yeah. I'm not discussing one religion versus that one or whatever, because in my opinion, all of them is the same. Any of them that are pointing the way towards Yahweh are the same. No, Elion. I'm not Elion. That's a destroyer. I don't want to be a destroyer. I'll be like I said. The El Shaddai are the sons of the powerful ones. The Elohim are the powerful ones. I don't know what Elon is, but I honestly think Elon is just somebody that's confused and got more access to some of that dark governmental extraterrestrial contact. Again, we're talking about paleo contact with extraterrestrials. That is the entire Bible story, the story of the Anunnaki and all of that. But like I said, all of them do not have our interest at heart. And the governments work along with some that have their own hidden agendas. So I'm pointing the way to the one that is trying to help us free our minds. Ain't got nothing to do with Elon and all the rest of them. Again, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but we can travel down the wrong rabbit holes and stay lost. We don't need to worry about what Elon doing. We need to worry about what we need to be doing so we can get free out from under the power of people like Elon and all the rest of them. Exactly. I don't really care what the Draconia is doing, what the Archons are doing, what the negative Aeons are doing. I don't care about that. No, a destroy. Jesus is not. Well, Jesus, hail Zeus, is a destroyer. Yahweh is a destroyer. He's by love for Jesus. Can you time him out for 24 hours, please? Because I'm tired of his foolishness. There's no such thing as a burning hell, and anybody that actually still believe that ignorance don't even understand the religion that they worship. There's nothing in the Bible to support hell. So the fact that he talking about we pointing to hell, he don't even know the religion he claims to want us to go to or point to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. And that's what I'm saying. We get so shield, but here's the thing. Oh, this is what I was getting ready to read. I was in Revelation because if you will notice in Revelation, the one that gets sent there is Yahweh, the dragon. It says right here, I saw an angel come down from heaven having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. And then, let me see. Oh, the casting, where they get this idea of hell from, down here in verse 10. It says, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and they shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Where it say humans going there? There's nothing in that verse that says anything about humans going in there. The lake of fire was for the devil, for Satan, and the deceivers that helped mislead humanity. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that hell is for humans. That's a lie the church put down there, interpreted into us to instill fear in us, to get us to subjugate to their authority. I love you too, Shelley. Ain't no need to be scared up in here. Flip that to sacred, God. Don't be scared. Now, and here's the reason why we don't need to be scared. That idea of them being tormented, in I think it's in the book of Enoch. He said that when he went up and was shown all of those different things, that there was a realm that all of those deceivers, the watchers, the different ones that came and gave the dark magic and the forbidden information to humans and all that stuff, that they would be punished for doing that in that realm. He said he saw 7 heavens or 10 heavens, whatever it was he described when he was taken up Metatron, Enoch became Metatron, but he wrote about a lot of stuff because he did come back. He just came back much later and was known as another time. But yeah. But it says here, I saw a great white throne and him that sat on it, whose face the earth and heaven fled away, from whose face the earth and heaven fled away, and there was found no place for them. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened, and yet another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell were delivered up, the dead which were in them. And they were judged, every man according to their works. So Sheol, it says that death and Sheol, or Hades, the garbage dump, delivered up whatever dead had claimed them. It's not some place that humans got to worry about going back to at the end of this, once the four horsemen and Michael and Yeshua come in to set things straight and depose the dragon, the devil, and all the rest of that. This is the final skirmish in the Anunnaki war. They're coming back like he said he would. He told us he would not leave us as orphans. And he pointed to the time that he was coming back in the John story and the Matthew, Mark, Luke, and all that, when he told them, go to the gate, the man with the pitcher of water will show the way. Lord Enki was known as the quintessential Aquarius. Yeshua was the keeper of the age of Pisces. Moses was the keeper of the age of Taurus. Yeshua as a mystic, was pointing us to the age of Aquarius as a time to look for his potential return. It said that death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death, and whoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire. But Yeshua had already said that his father doesn't really judge, he judges gently. But why would I want to read Titus? Because truthfully, Titus was probably written by the Apostle Paul. We can stop and look at it. You said Titus 2:13. I'll look at it, but I have to go real slow with the words of the Apostle Paul, because in my opinion, Paul was the Antichrist. He came through after Yeshua had been unalived and wrote letters to all of the congregations of people that still believed as Yeshua believed. And basically, he told all of them that they was wrong. They won't shit for believing what they believe. And this is what we get ready to roll out, and was giving them the new instruction moving forward into Christianity. Paul wasn't doing nobody's no favor. You said Titus, Titus 2:13. I'm going to write that down for when I finish this, and we'll look at it later in a little bit here, because the part that I really want people to understand, because this is what gobsmacked me and kind of, hey, Dr. Strange Doom, how are you? Yeah, I've been busy. I've been busy too. Oh man, but I'm so glad that you're here. Like I say, yeah. Right, but guess what? He also said, WD-40, that his father, that Lord Enki, that Yeshua said his father judges very lightly. He said he really don't judge at all. Most people getting in the book of life is not as hard as the church want us to believe it is. The ones that don't make it into the book of life are the ones that chose to side with the dragon, the ones that continue to mislead humanity and follow the dragon, Satan. They've been given chance after chance after chance to learn and do something different, and they choose to keep following this dragon. Remember when Yeshua said, you'll come to me and say, didn't we do many powerful works in your name, and didn't we exorcise demons in your name, and didn't we do this in your name? He said, and yet I will say to you, I never knew you. Get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. He was telling them right then, y'all think you doing the right thing, but it's a whole lot of stuff that you doing that later on is going to bite you in the butt. Yeah, exactly. The Father judges no one. He said that. You're right. And then in chapter 21 of Revelation, this was what really got me like right between the eyes. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and the sea was no more. And I John saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God, or the Elohim, out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. I saw a great voice out of heaven saying, "Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God will be with him and be their God," or Elohim, powerful one. Now, if they just got rid of the dragon, Yahweh, who might be this other Elohim that's cruising down from the sky with this new base camp, this new Jerusalem? Could that not be Enki? Yahweh done had the whole world's panties in a knot for thousands of years. And this book, goodbye, Miss Unforgettable, the Bible says, you talking about, I believe in this foolishness, is actually in the Bible. And because you choose to stay in ignorance and don't want to read with understanding, that's your business. But we ain't doing that here. Yeshua told us to look at this with discernment. Stop believing the lies that the priest and the magic practice and this, all of them stuff are putting to us, and read it for discernment with ourselves. In 20, it just said that the devil, the one called Satan, the one that's been deceiving mankind, was going to be destroyed. And then right after that, it says that an Elohim is coming back with a new Jerusalem, because they just got through getting rid of this other one, and he's going to rule mankind with love and compassion and humility and all of that. Eden is in modern day Turkey. You don't need to bite no apple. Wait a minute, hold on. Eden was in Turkey, Iran, excuse me, in modern day Iran. But the whole idea, again, we get told these lies. The fruit that supposedly Eve ate was truth. Lord Enki installed the worship gene, but his conscience got to eating him, and he felt bad about that, so he told Eve the truth. And Enlil was so enraged by that he declared his brother a snake and said he was evil and all the rest of that stuff. But Enlil, Yahweh, was the Satan of the Eden. It wasn't an actual fruit that caused her to sin and all that. That is a lie that is put forth by Christianity. The reason they was thrown out of the garden was because the Satan of the Eden, that was Enlil's house. Again, Enki built his house in the Apsu. Enlil's house was at this laboratory, this outdoor laboratory, the Eden, and they actually did have some species of trees that they had brought, fruits and things that they had brought from Nibiru, that helped them extend their lives. And because Adam and Eve were Anunnaki hybrids, if they had eaten those trees and fruits, their lives would be extended. And he was so upset that Eve now understood the truth and turned off her worship gene, that he literally had them tossed out of the Garden of Eden, and put guards up to make sure that they could not come back and eat of that fruit. But that whole lie about the eating of the fruit itself was what caused her to be sinful, and why she, no, it was knowledge. It was knowledge. Sin simply means falling short of the mark. But guess what? That whole judgment and concept of sin is from Yahweh. Yeshua never told nobody they had to be perfect, and if we wasn't perfect, again, this is the lie that Christianity told us, that Adam and Eve were so dirty and so sinful that all they deserved is death and damnation. That is an absolute lie that Enlil put forth. I am calling our actual creator is not Yahweh. It's Lord Enki. I am calling his brother Yahweh, the one that people been worshiping. He is a liar. He is a manslayer. He is a dragon. He is the devil. That is all written right here in this book. But Christians don't know who he actually is because religion has deliberately mistranslated and misguided humanity so that they could control people with this book in fear instead of letting people know the truth. So, yes, I am calling Lord Yahweh the devil because Yeshua called him the devil. So I don't have to feel ashamed or hold my mouth or worry about who don't like it. My Lord Yeshua said that the people that are worshiping Yahweh are worshiping the devil. Exactly. I'm trying to help people wake up though, because they need to stop following that lie. These Bible thumpers come in this feed and they gonna correct everybody and save us and lead us back to the church. No, you ain't leading me back to no church. I've been liberated from that because I've been searching to find this out my whole life. Like I said, I was taught to read from the Bible with a belt by the age of 3. I could read at the age of 3, and I've been reading this book ever since. But I still wasn't getting truth and understanding until I started reading some of the other books that was older than this to help bring this into context. What's the question, dear? Wait a minute. You said John. I'm trying to. Yeah, Enlil didn't want mankind made, but once they were made, he insisted, "Hey, RB, I ain't even see you in here, brother." But once he was made, and once we were made, he insisted that we had a worship gene put in us. Where did I hear this about what Yahweh said, WD 40? In the Bible, go read the Gospel of John. He kept telling these people, "You do not know my Father. You worship your father, the devil." And he was not talking to the Pharisees. He was not talking to the Sadducees. He was talking to the Jews who worshiped Yahweh. He directly, multiple times, over and over and over and over again, said that the Jews were worshiping the devil. Revelation said that the devil and Satan was going to be thrown down. In Eden, it's in the Yahweh, in the Genesis story, it says that Satan, the devil, was the one that misled and the da 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 da. But people don't want to accept that Yahweh's title was Satan. They don't know that because the church didn't tell them that. But Satan don't mean what you think it means. It meant ruler. He was the governor of Eden. That was his title. Satan of the Eden. And Enki's title was Ea of the Apsu. Yeah, I told you I was raised by Jehovah's Witnesses, whole family elders and all the rest of that stuff. My mother, she had gone and she had looked at, she was a seeker. She had looked at Judaism, she had looked at Islam, she had looked at the Nation of Islam and the black Israel, the Nation of Islam, as well as absolute Islam, Judaism, spiritualism, all of that. Now, how she wound up with the Jehovah's Witnesses, I have no idea. But they were deeply involved in seeking truth because they were older people from that generation. That was super important to them. But they didn't have access to the Babylonian text and the Sumerian text and the Anunnaki text and all of that. I've been baptized in 2 Christian faiths. I'm telling you, that's how sincere I was. I don't take this stuff lightly, and I'm not just saying it to be flippant out of my mouth. I genuinely wanted to know who Jehovah really was because there was a huge disconnect between what they were telling me he's supposed to be and what I was reading in the Bible and how this whole thing was actually playing out and what I'm looking and observing in the world. I just it wasn't making sense to me. I wanted to know, so I sincerely set out to try to understand the nature of the God that they wanted me to serve. And the more I found out, like you say, once you know, you know. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I just chose not to close my eyes and blur my eyes and keep taking the watered down Sunday school version that they wanted to tell me, and actually read with comprehension and saw what I needed to see. And once I saw that, it took me a while to get bold enough to speak and say these things in a public forum, because I was afraid of getting it wrong too. I was afraid that what if I pissed God off too? But guess what? Spending about 6 or 7 years in meditation with it will put you on another path, and it'll send you where you need to see, and then you can double check and triple check, and you can do all of that. How did I find that Yahweh is the devil? Again, I told you, because Jesus told us that. I don't have to keep. I don't. What do I need to read the Quran for? I done read this about 4 or 5, 50, umpteen times, and once I found out that Yahweh is the devil, I don't need to look at no other religions that also worship the devil. Another different iteration of devil worship ain't gonna make me no better. Christianity worships Yahweh as Jehovah. Judaism worships Yahweh as Yahweh. Islam worships Yahweh as Allah, but they are all the same individual. Yahweh has been known by a whole bunch of names over many different pantheons throughout his reign here on earth. He's been known as Yah, Dionysus, Baal, Beelzebub, Yaldabaoth, Odin, Zeus. Okay, but guess what? Rastafarians are still worshiping Yahweh. Do that if you want to, but why do you want to keep it? You trying to find a workaround, and I get it. Because I did that. Like I said, I was baptized as a Jehovah's Witness, and I fell out with them, and I thought, well, maybe they're just wrong, so I'm going to go find another aspect of Christianity, because they, the fact that they put the name Christ on it, then that's got to be right, right? I was baptized in the First Baptist Church, or sorry, Liberty Baptist. Huge congregation. But when you keep trading off, or because that's and again, I'm not trying to be ups. Jehovah's Witnesses ain't no more Looney Tunes than the rest of these people. Like I say, Christianity, they just don't work, period. Baptists got all the sense, but they out fighting wars and each other and their fellow man, and people starving and blah blah blah. And the Amish and the Presbyterians and the Mormons talking about they gonna do whatever they got to do so they can go and get a whole planet full of virgins to themselves. That's Looney Tunes for real. No, Jehovah's Witnesses are Christian. They're absolutely Christian, but they stuck in the same kind of ignorance the rest of the Christians are. This is what I'm saying. People have such a knee-jerk response. They want so badly for one aspect or other of these to be right because we've been told it's got to be right. But Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, one isn't better than the other. They're all worshiping Yahweh, a deceiver, a destroyer, a liar, a dragon. His other name is Yaldabaoth. And I know it's hard to hear the truth. And when you hear it, you got to buck against it because you haven't fully turned your worship gene off yet. I think I did a video talking about turning off the worship gene. It's not an instant progress. Goodbye, big text. Rebuke yourself, baby. I'm good. Appreciate you, though. Yeah, exactly. My thing is, why would you come here if you're going to rebuke somebody? But just leave. That's all you got to do. Just leave. The Catholic Church is the ones that set this whole thing off, baby. The Romans, when the scriptures in the Bible, when it tells you about how the Jews were so upset that they wanted Yeshua unalive, but they didn't want to do it themselves because they knew the Messiah was coming. But just in case he really was the Christ, they didn't want their hands dirty with it themselves. So they set the Romans up to do it for them. And 295 years after they unalived Yeshua, an emperor named Constantine decided he wanted to unify the lands by creating a unified religion So he called for the first Council of Nicaea, and they literally sat down and wrote Christianity. They took some input from the presbyters who had they call themselves following Yeshua, but he also brought in Egyptian thinking and Roman thinking, and they literally did an amalgamation of texts and beliefs from all kinds of religions, and they wrote Christianity in 325 AD. That's why they have to say the Nicene Creed to tell people what it is they believe and all the rest of that. That doesn't mean it's true. That means that was their oath. That's what they decided on, and they even wrote it in their rules that they could say anything that they want, and if they hold to that story for 200 years, it becomes church law. Why do I need to talk about ancient Egypt? Because truthfully, I went further back than Egypt. When I'm talking about the Anunnaki, they was the Anunnaki before they got to the whole Egypt story and Kemet and the Netter and all of that. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to go back and watch that again, Kane, because I didn't pay attention to that. They said that you said that Indiana Jones starts talking about yeah, An was Anu's father, so that would have been Enki's grandfather. Yeah, because guess what? There's a whole lot of stuff that happened on this planet that ain't in the Bible when they truncated everything 1800. Enki, the names Enki and Enlil come from the Anunnaki text and the Sumerian text. They're mentioned again, and they're mentioned in the Babylonian texts as well, which all of them are way older than the Bible and the Christian story. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years older than the Bible and the Christian story. Honestly, the Nephilim or it could be. They really could. The Nephilim, I mean the Sasquatch and the giants. Well, the giants for sure are like part of, because think about it. We are told again in the Bible that everything was destroyed in the flood. No, it won't. According to the Babylonian text, all humans didn't even die in the flood. The descendants of Cain, some of them survived the flood. They made it to high enough ground that there were still humans that survived the flood that was not inside the boat. And that was not, we act like the flood was the first time that humanity got reset. Like I said, when the evil wind came through, when they had nuclear fallout on here from the Anunnaki wars, there was a reset when Sumer was destroyed. There was a reset shortly after the flood. That was when and Sumer were destroyed. Right. There's going all, but again, after the flood, like I said, everybody didn't die. That's the lie that Christianity tells us, because they also told us that mankind and the earth was only 6,000 years old. That's some primitive thinking, because they chose not, again, they reset and tell history how they want to. How they going to claim that in my lifetime, I sat in church and heard them people say that humanity and the Bible was only 6,000 years old, but the Sphinx is at least 22,000 years that we know of. We get we got the Sumerian kings list that talk about people reigning for 14,000 and 36,000 and whatever thousand. The Sumerian kings list goes back hundreds of thousands of years. No, according to the church, the Bible does not say that the earth is only 6,000 years old. It absolutely doesn't. I've read it cover to cover. And between chapter 1 in Genesis and chapter 2 in Genesis, over 300,000 years had passed, at least. Anybody that still believes that the earth is 6,000 years old is seriously been nursing on the kindergarten version of religion and spirituality. You've been taking the Sunday school lessons, boo, but you ain't been actually learning what you are bending your knee to. Who is James? Who knows? Well, truthfully, the book of James was written by Paul. Again, You gotta understand, Paul never met Yeshua at all. Paul was a vehicle of the church to lay down the new guide rules for this new iteration of Yahwism that they was cranking out on the planet. They used Jesus as a mascot and cranked up that lie that they knit him in the middle of. But Paul declared himself an apostle. He didn't never meet Jesus, and all of them books was written at least 100 years after Yeshua was executed, supposedly. First, you're right, 1800, the entire world couldn't have been flooded, even according to the scriptures, because if you go back and read the flood account, they claimed that the waters, I mean, it pretty much covered the globe to a degree. It was a lot of death and destruction, all of that. But there's a part in the scriptures that talk about the waters running 15 cubits high, I think, which is like 22 and a half feet. How in the world you gonna flood the whole world in 22 and a half feet of water when Mount Everest is like 6,000 feet? That part. No. In the book of Acts, that's the lie. Again, you want to believe that Paul met Jesus on the road to Damascus in the book of Acts chapter 9, but Acts was written by Paul, and it was written. Let's see if Google will tell me when the book of Acts was written. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up for us right now. When was Acts written? Yeah, the book of Acts was written sometime between 70 and 90 CE, 60 years after Yeshua was executed, supposedly. Paul appointed himself an apostle. He never met Yeshua, but he put it in the book, so he wrote it into his own story. So people tend to believe it. 90% of the New Testament was written by the Apostle Paul. That's what people don't understand. He didn't deviate far from Judaism. He just remixed it and pushed Yahwism forward as Christianity. Like I say, the basic difference in Judaism and Christianity is that they stopped calling Enlil Yahweh and started calling him Jehovah. Because of the way they chose that once they started translating into another language, because there is no J in Hebrew. So that was where the Yahweh came from. But then the tetragrammaton representing that, it became YHWH. And then later on, they decided, I don't know why they decided it'd be YHJH or YHVH, but however it came about, in the language translation, they invented this new name, Jehovah, that they decided to roll out with. Again, Clark Kent, no, we didn't break God's law. That's a lie Yahweh told, and the church puts us to keep your mind subjugated. You continue to believe that you broke God's law. How can a baby break a law that they didn't even know? But that's the same nonsense Yahweh did when he said he was going to unalive the whole nation of Israel right at the foot of Mount Sinai when they first agreed to walk with him. Before he ever gave them the rule book, he claimed they broke the rules, and he was getting ready to unalive the entire nation until Joshua and Caleb said that, oh, don't worry about it, we'll appease you. And they unalived 3,000 people in the nation of Israel overnight to appease Yahweh, because he was pissed off because they went back to worshiping the God that they had already been worshiping before they agreed to worship Yahweh, because they didn't know if he had abandoned them or not. Okay, so I appreciate that. Luke didn't even write the Gospel of Luke, though, Antoine. So, truthfully, that's the crazy part. Well, actually, Luke might have written the Gospel of Luke, but if he did, then he didn't meet Yeshua either. Don't you find it interesting? The one of the Gospels that stand out is different from the others is the Gospel of John. But if you look at Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they didn't write, none of those books were written till almost between 80 and 110 years after Yeshua was supposed to be executed. And now, why they waited so long to tell the story? If they walked with the man, why would they wait 100 and something years to write it down? I have no idea. But even after 100 and something years, they all chose to tell the same basic stories, and they told the accounts verbatim in some areas, word for word, in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And the one place it deviates from that and gives a different account that doesn't emphasize the same exact stuff is the Gospel of John, the one person who actually may have met Yeshua. Give you something to think about, right? Especially when they come up with that whole, they was talking about trying to link to the lineage of David and this, that, and all of that. And that whole thing about the Last Supper, they really emphasize the Last Supper. It is conspicuously absent in the Gospel of John. That's what really let me know. I was trying to figure that part out. Why would it be absent in John? Because, not saying that a Last Supper didn't happen, because Jesus was still a practicing Jew, so he may have been having the Passover meal, because they had various Sabbaths and stuff, and they were approaching Shabbat. They had the Passover meal, but that whole eat my flesh, drink my blood, keep doing this in remembrance of me, that was put down in great detail in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and left out of John, because eating my flesh, drinking my blood, doing this in remembrance of me is black magic. They was putting down a generational curse on Yeshua in knit right in Christianity. The scriptures tell us hanging any man from a tree is a curse upon him and his bloodline. And they did that. They enacted black magic and got all of humanity doing it. Oh yes, please come and take the sacrament. Hell, good Catholics do it every week to make sure they get that binding spell to stick. How do you break the curse? Turn off your worship gene and stop following the dragon. Understand who he is. Learn for yourself. Like I said, you ain't got to take my word for it. You can go and check all of this stuff and read it and understand it. We talk about it here to make it easier for you to have a point of reference to go and research it. But I don't want nobody to decide that take everything I say as the gospel. I don't want people to come in and be hot and disrespectful either. But this, I'm speaking because of the research that I've done to give people a point so that they can go and check for themselves. But again, you're saying, you keep saying Jesus Christ because that's what Christianity done told you. Jesus Christ don't exist. Jesus means hail Zeus. Christ is a state of mind. There have been plenty of Christos on this planet. Yeshua HaMashiach was simply one of them. Lord Maitreya was the Christed Buddha. So Christos is something to attain. That's a point of enlightenment. Jesus Christ is a curse upon humanity for those who choose to get caught up in that. I have to, Maurice. I thought I was gonna. I mean, I've been called to read tarot, and I will do that. And I'm probably gonna start showing up in the mornings for tarot for those who want that. But every time I come live, whether I attend to or not, it becomes this type of session. And truthfully, I thought that I was going to start, do my little video once upon a time, and it was going to make a video and it'd be sitting on my channel as a one and done. And then I thought I had to go back again, like I said. And when I go through and read the Gospel of John, Yeshua, it wasn't a one and done for him. He spent 18 years preparing for his ministry in the East. And then when he came back into Israel, he spent 3 years daily going out and repeating this and saying it over and over and over. And they still didn't get it. So I can't even get upset that these people come in here and get all upset because, like I say, the people that had the for real Jesus right there with him, not only did they not get it, they got so angry they unalived him for it. And here I am sitting in my little spiritual, going down the spiritual rabbit hole and becoming clairaudient, and I done hooked up with Yeshua's energy, and I'm in meditation and hearing these things he's telling me, and he's telling me that I have to pick up his mantle. Like he said, if you love me, follow me. So whoever get mad and don't like it and want to come in here and talk about I'm cursing people and all the rest of that, I don't follow them. I follow Yeshua. I love Yeshua. It hurts my heart when I think about the way he gave up his life and people still don't understand how and why. Exactly. I'm here for the ones who want to know and who want to listen. And thank goodness I got some amazing moderators, and more will be coming. Because honestly, yesterday, y'all, I was so shocked. I had no idea. We wound up on for almost 3 hours last night. And by the time it uploaded, I found out today over 3,000 people touched that live stream at some point. So whether they stayed for a hot minute and got mad and left, or whether they actually learned something and took away, that's more than I could have ever. I was so humbled by that because I never wanted to be in the forefront like that. I never thought like I hated being a witness, y'all. As a Jehovah's Witness, when I was being drug out there and made to knock on people's doors and all, I was so embarrassed every time I had to do it because it felt so wrong. But if people choose to come and meet me where I am and want to learn something I have to teach, that's so right. I can't not do it. It's a fire in my belly now because once you know it, you can't unknow it. And I'm sorry I get emotional about this, y'all, because, like I said, humanity doesn't understand from what I've been shown in meditation and what I believe. And again, that might be part of me needing to amp up my understanding. I don't know. But the more I read Revelation and look at these ancient texts and stuff, I think part of the reason why we're being stressed to figure this out now going into the age of Aquarius is because that whole the Elohim descending with the base camp, and we're going to rule and we're going to do this, and they're going to rebuild after the end of Armageddon. That whole thing at the end of Revelation. I've always been an end of the book kind of girl. I'll read the rest of the book, but when I first get a book, I flip to the last page because I want to know what the hell going to happen. I've always been an end of the book type of person, so I believe in the end of that book. Remember the movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage? It came out in 2009. Hollywood been showing us the truth and hiding it in plain sight, calling it entertainment our whole lives ever since media came out and became a thing. In that book, in that movie, they knew that a cataclysm was coming that was going to destroy the earth. It was going to scorch the earth, a whole fireball that humanity would not survive. And extraterrestrials who had love for humanity had agreed to come and take a component or a contingency of humans off of the earth in enough time that they would not die during that cataclysm. And then after the fireball hit and everything else, they took seeds and samples and all the rest of that. And they took all these children and some older people to be teachers, and they took them up into spaceships. Sound like the rapture, anyone? But after the fireball hit, they said that when they could come back to Earth, that they would repopulate the Earth, and those people would basically build new Earth. That's the same thing they describe in Revelation if you know what you're looking at. And the Anunnaki texts say that after the flood happened, they knew that another natural cataclysm would be happening to the earth before the completion of 2 more shars. We're in the second shar now since the flood. I don't know exactly how long we got left, But truthfully, the ones that would be able to be saved and come back to populate new earth and be the builders of new earth, they ain't gonna be the people that's still trying to worship the dragon. It'll be the people that were able to turn off their worship gene, who want to live in peace. Like the scriptures say, the ones who are willing to turn their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning shears, and they will learn war no more. Shars are the Anunnaki's earth time. I haven't read Chariot of the Gods yet. We might cover that one day too. We might. Um, yeah. But I was trying to read some of these notes. I ain't figured out how to get our chat to save yet. I'm gonna try to figure it out, but because I be wanting to go back and I missed some of it. But yeah, everything in the Bible Queen cuisine is not a lie, but it's been remixed, and we don't understand the real meaning of why it was given. Quite a lot of what's in in the Old Testament, it's a lot more history and stuff, but the meanings that's been put on it most definitely lies. A lot of it. Um, no, my name isn't Lavender, but Shars are the time period. A Shar on it's Nibiru's time. The way Nibiru's orbit is, one of their years or Shars is equal to 3,600 Earth years. No, I'm not gonna fight. And here's the thing, and I get it. Thank you, Snowy. But you have to understand something. The whole idea of war and fighting is very Enlilite, Yahwistic. The Inkiite philosophies are very peaceful. They're not religions, they are philosophies. Buddhism, Jainism, Taoism, that sort of thing. Think about the world we would live in if everybody was Buddhist. Now, I'm not saying Buddhism is perfect now, because they've kind of sort of turned it a little bit religiosity, kind of sort of. Yep, Enlil was on his meat, loved him some barbecue, but you can't pay a Buddhist to go pick up a pew pew and unalive nobody. There would be no wars on this planet if everybody were under the Inkiite philosophies. But we have not had a day of peace nowhere on this. Not the whole planet has not known a day of peace since the Enlilite religions have been installed on this planet. War, misogyny, plunder, grape, greed, that really slick, nasty commercialism that we see, hoard, all of that are products of Enlilite thinking and religion. Yeah, that's what the scriptures say, Maurice, that some type of energy gonna fight for the peaceful people. That's what is described in Revelation, is it not? That Yeshua came back and brought all of his cosmic friends with him, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, the archangels, and all the rest of them. They come here and kick ass, and they take Yahweh and his demons down with them and bind them and chain them. And after they are destroyed, it describes a peaceful ragtag bunch of people that did not subscribe to Yahweh's stuff, that came and threw themselves at the mercy at the foot of the throne. And it says that the other Elohim comes down from with New Jerusalem to establish a base camp for rebuilding earth under a peaceful reign, and he will be with them, and he will be their Elohim, and he will rule in peace. That's in Revelation. Okay, well, you fought war because you live in an Enlilite world. That's why you fought wars. My son is in the military now because I mean, I get it. People continue to do that, but there comes a time when the ones who are, according to the scriptures, the ones who are going to be saved and be allowed to rebuild new earth are the ones who choose peace. I didn't make that up. We can keep justifying why we need to pick up weapons and unalive each other. We just in service to the military. We just serving our government. We gotta be patriotic. I need a paycheck. There's all kinds of reasons why people will justify continuing to do that under the rule of Yahweh. But the scriptures say that those who continue to follow the dragon will follow him down into the pit. The ones who will survive and be able to be the builders of new earth are the ones who will choose peace. I didn't make that up. It's in the book. Now, y'all believe all the other violent shit that's in that book. Why won't you believe the peaceful parts that's in it? Hi, Andre Craig. Thank you for joining us. If there, oh, I do believe that there is. Well, they say that energy is never destroyed, it's simply transferred. And I know for a fact I've had some connections with some folks that have transitioned here. Their consciousness is still very much available, their physical bodies just are not. But as far as paying for what you did in combat, you don't need to pay for what you did in combat. What you did in ignorance, Yeshua says the Father, the real Father, his Father, does not judge like that. Yahweh, Enlil, Jehovah, is very exacting and judgmental and wants to punish people generation under generation, 6 generations back, and all that stuff we see in the Bible is encoded in us. All that retribution and all that is encoded in Judaism and Islam and Christianity. Yahweh Enlil is not like that. What you need to do to pay for what you did in combat is truly repent in your heart and don't do it no more. That's all Jesus told, or Yeshua told it, all the other people that they did. Yeshua communed with the harlot. He didn't judge her for it. He didn't allow them to stone her for it. He told her, sin no more. That's all you got to do. Your conscience may bother you because you did that, but again, allow yourself the grace that you pray that Yahweh will give you. Religion will never give you that grace. Give it to yourself. If you genuinely become that peaceful person who can understand and learn and know who you are, give yourself the grace to know that you acted in ignorance based on what you understood at that. We all just walking each other home. We're doing the best we can with what we know from where we are at any given time. Just don't do it anymore. Oh, you're not gonna get nothing but love here, baby. I get annoyed with them ones, like I say, they want to come in with all their hellfire and damnation. They so stuck in their religiosity that they want to come in. How you come in somebody else's house and take over? If you don't agree with what's being said here, you're free to scroll up, left, right, whatever you got on whatever you viewing from. But there's no place for hate, because that hate stuff, that is what Yahweh taught. That's why I say I had to leave that stuff behind. And I wondered, my children were like, well, mama, what if you get it wrong? The one takeaway I had to get before I stepped out into these waters was that if there wasn't nothing else in this book that was true, if there ain't nothing else in this book that's true, it's the fact that God, the true God, real God, Elohim, is love. That's what helped me know that Yahweh Jehovah ain't it, because that cat ain't got no love in him, and neither do the people who serve him. How the popes and stuff turn around and bless the troops and the weapons and all the rest of that that's going to roll out to go up to sending a bunch of innocent people that ain't got a nickel in that quarter over to the country of another bunch of innocent people that ain't got a nickel in that quarter, so that they can unalive each other because there's two big wigs that's sitting up in offices somewhere that's mad at each other. And then the popes and the preachers and the priests and all of that come out literally to bless the arms and the planes and the bombs and the everything else, and do it in the name of religion. That ain't love. You can't cross your eyes enough to make that be love. Honey, you're going to have to get used to being peaceful in the middle of chaos. We done had chaos for so long, we're going to have to hold the line for real on peace until it takes. And I get it too, because like Yeshua, sometimes you just want to braid a whip and go in there and kick ass. You do. I get it. But that's not our role. We cannot win that way. We are outnumbered. We war not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. And the only way to battle against powers and principalities looks a whole lot like sitting down somewhere, oming and meditating, because it's a mental thing. You are more powerful in the spirit than you ever gonna be in this physical vessel, because you are more spirit than you are physical. Because I don't need any religion. Again, this is coming from that whole idea of the inky, light way of thinking that there has to be one that's right and everyone else is wrong. That's a construct of religion, honey. That's what was installed in you when the worship gene was put in you. You're taught to feel that way. That doesn't mean it's actually the truth. We don't have to find the right one, or what? If you don't find the right one, or what? You go die, go to hell. That's the lie they tell you. We just talked about that. Hell ain't even for humans. The idea of a burning hell is a lie. And they know it's a lie. So you don't have to worry about if you get it right or if you get it wrong. Is your heart in the right place? Are you seeking to find truth? You don't need to go find the right religion. You need to learn to walk away from religion and free yourself. Hi, Brown Beauty. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Yeah. Oh, and I get it. And again, when I'm talking, I'm not trying to come down on anybody, because I definitely, oh, Lord. Bye, Nick Gers, because we don't need that. Anyway. He says so much was intended in writing, yet take no separation of war. Oh yeah, but again, I just lean towards a lot of what Yeshua said, and like I said, he directly quotes the Emerald Tablets. He directly quotes the Lost Book of Enki. He's teaching basically Buddhist and tantric principles and things like that that are very much Enkiite philosophies. So if you just got it, and again, I get it, turning off the worship gene is kind of difficult. So if you just got to find some kind of an organization or ritualistic type practice to lean towards while you're sorting that out, go look into Buddhism or Jainism or Taoism. They're not truly religions, but there is a lot of ceremony and beautiful ritual and things like that. It will help you lean and find your way towards peace and help you see and further, like I said, until you can ease your way away and turn off your worship gene. Yeah, you can feel your way, but Maurice, I understand. Like I said, when you're really been really programmed in the I need to worship, I need to get it right. If I don't get it right, I'm gonna go to hell. My soul, my eternal soul is at stake. My eternal damnation is on the line. That is a serious program that's drilled down hard into a lot of us. And for those people, they're going to continue to doubt just feeling their way. They need to see it in print. They need to hear it from somebody else. That's why I'm sitting here doing what I'm doing. Some folks ain't going to like it, that's fine. But for those that are seeking and want to know, I can't tell them that what I'm telling them is the be all, end all, unequivocal truth. All I can do is plant a seed and they can go follow up on it. If they read it, if they hear it, if they meditate on it, then they can feel their way a little better. But some of us do kind of need to do our homework and track down the scrolls and that's why I'm grateful for the internet. I'm grateful, even though I think it's wrong the way A lot of these archaeologists and these colonizers and stuff take a lot of artifacts and go and stick them in other countries' museums. I can't say I agree with all of that, but I'm grateful for all of the texts that they found. They found thousands, hundreds of thousands at this point of these ancient texts. It's going to take lifetimes for them to translate them all, but the more we find, the more we are learning. What heaven? Why do people keep wanting to escape up off of here so bad? This is our home. The scriptures tell us that he has given the earth to the sons of man, and forever they will reside upon it. That whole idea that earth sucks and then you go to heaven, that's part of the Christian lie. There's no reason for us to go nowhere else. Heaven is within you if you choose to have it. Heaven is right here. There ain't no need for us to go nowhere. And if in the concept of heaven as we talk about it, until you master this, you're not going anywhere anyway, because the only way to get off of this planet is through the mind. That's what Thoth said. When you want to travel them other dimensions and find out, heaven is other dimensions. But the gateway through heaven is through the halls of Amenti, through the mind, which you can't even find that level of ascension until you find a peaceful path. They got a right to be angry to a degree, but in a way they still angry at the wrong things, Dane. And again, that somebody asked me the other day, Israel or how did I feel? But they need to be angry at Yahweh, because he the one that kept lying to them. He done promised the promised land to the Israelites 2 or 3 times and never gave it to them. Never even cleaned it out for them. It was full of Nephilim. At one time, when he promised it to Abram, he didn't get it. 500 years later, when he brought the Israelites out of Egypt, he promised them the promised land then, marched them around for 40 years in the desert on a trip that shouldn't have, I think, I used to say it shouldn't have taken but 11 days, or it was 11 miles. I think they said, I forgot how long it was, but it shouldn't have taken more than 11 weeks for sure. But for 40 years, he led them around till most of the generation that he had promised them to had died off, but he never gave it to them. And then by the time we get to, it was either Ezekiel or one of them books, I think, he told them that they were a stiff-necked people and he washed his hands of them. So he never gave the nation of Israel the promised land. And yet they still fighting over it as if they have a right to it, because they still following the dragon. But Hebrews 11:40 tells you at the end of Hebrews, after they named all of them faithful people and all the stuff they did and all of it throughout the Bible, they told them, none of those people named in the Bible, not one of them saw their promises fulfilled. Yahweh is a liar. He set them up for the okie doke. They do them all these tests of faith and all that stuff, but their faith is never rewarded. None of them saw their promises fulfilled before they left this earth. Period. That's why they sell the heaven lie so bad. You're supposed to suffer here. That's how you know you're getting it right, because you suffer here. Life sucks here. You got to wait till you get to the other side to get your reward. What kind of foolishness is that? And yet we keep going for it and hoping for it, and dangling the eternal carrot over our heads, and we continue to buy that nonsense. It took them that long because they were given, or they were promised a land that they was never given, that didn't belong to them in the first place. The fact that any of us on this planet, regardless of where we at, is fighting over land is stupid as hell. I said it with my whole chest, because guess what? In 3 generations, none of this land gonna belong to you or none of your people. It's gonna be, and at least certainly it might hang around for 3 generations, but by the time 4 or 5 generations gone, I don't care where you are on the planet, within 5 or 6 generations, none of the land that's in your family now will belong to your family anymore. None of us own this land, and the sooner we stop doing that stupid crap, the better off we'll be. Yes, the dragon is the devil, who is also Yahweh, who is also Jehovah, who is also Allah. That's his names. They can find all the fulfillment all they want to, but if they find fulfillment in Islam, Judaism, or Christianity, they are worshiping a dragon, the devil. Yeshua said that. And that is, they are Yahwist religions. Yahweh does not have humanity's interest at heart. Yahweh has put forth a great deception over humanity for thousands of years. So we can try to be nice and water it down so we don't want to offend nobody. But that's part of the reason we've continued to live under these curses, because we keep accepting the lie. I'm not going to be kind enough to tell them they can find fulfillment in Islam. They can find fulfillment in Islam, but guess what? Their lives are going to stay shit, because when you worship a monster, it makes monsters out of you. And the monster that they worship has gotten them in a religion that thinks it's okay to mutilate women, that thinks it's okay to terrorize people, that thinks it's okay to unalive yourself in the name of that religion, because you're going to get yours on the other side. I wish I could do life reviews with these people to see how surprised they are when they get to the other side and find out that they've been lied to. All of them. I ain't talking about just Islam. I'm talking about all of them. Christianity, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all of them. Because we're sold a bill of goods that isn't real. Yeshua didn't say he was against the establishment, but he showed them. He said Caesar's things to Caesar, God's things to God. But when they was in there making a mockery out of the temple, he did sit down and braid a whoop and whoop their behinds up out the temple. He was a spiritual badass. Where did he say Yahweh is the devil? All over John. Like I said, my other Bible that I had marked up where the verses were, I don't have it down here. I'm gonna see if I can find it. This conversation gonna have to cut fairly short though, because I'm down to 11% battery. My camera will stop eventually. But if you look in the Gospel of John, and truthfully, if y'all want, I can come back tomorrow and I'll try to have the verses written down. But over and over and over, several times in the Gospel of John, he says, "You do not know my Father. You worship your father, the devil." You welcome to the Soul Family, Shelly. You come on in here. Like I said, we're gonna keep doing our thing because we're all learning and growing. I don't have all the answers, but I have an open mind and an open heart, and I ask for Yeshua. Well, truthfully, at the time, I've always believed in Yeshua, even when I erroneously called him. No, he literally said that. I'm not just putting nothing together. He said it repeatedly. Go back, and I do quite a bit of reading. 1800. They're in my playlist. Modern Mystic Loved Ones. Scroll through that playlist. There is, I think it's in the Resurrection Day message. I'm wearing a white caftan. It's white and gold, I think. You may have to scroll down a little bit, but I believe it's in the Resurrection Day message that I go into great detail, and I'm reading heavily from the Gospel of John, and then I go into the Revelation as well. So you can see it for yourself. Hey, yo, unique healer. Love that. Love it, love it. If you don't question everything. He did say it. He was talking directly to the Jews. He didn't say Yahweh is the devil. He said, "You do not know my father." He said, "I am not from here." You do not know my Father. You worship your father, the devil. He was talking directly to the Jews. He was a Jew by birth, so he know the Jews worship Yahweh. So when he told the Jews, the people that he was preaching and teaching to, that you don't know my father, you worship your father, the devil, he was talking directly to the Jews about Yahweh. Now, you can argue the point all you want, but if you read the book, you'll see it in there for yourself. And it really has, Jennifer. It really has. Thank you so much. Hi, Robert. And you know what? I hate that like I said, I'm wrapping it. I'm gonna stay here as long as I can. I'm down to 11%, and I can't charge my phone without unplugging my sound capabilities. And with the air on in here, you really won't be able to hear me if I unplug my mic. If you know me, you know my father also. From now on, you know him, you seen him, seeing again. Like I said, tomorrow I'm gonna get that other Bible. This right here, I forgot which this is a King James version, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the print is so small. That's one of the reasons I don't use it that much when I'm actually like reading on the channel. But I think it was the New American, one of those other versions. But I had highlighted several things. But I'll do my homework before I come online tomorrow, and we're gonna talk about the Gospel of John again. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Let me see. Right, you said tags on each part of religion, different tags. One of the things that get me about religion, even with Christianity, all Christians, we have it programmed in us. We had it because I'm not Christian anymore, but we had it programmed in us. We've got to get it right. There's one religion, we got to get it right. Do y'all not know that it's about 15,000 different sects of Christianity alone? They can't even get it right amongst themselves. Neither can Jews. I'm not just bashing Christians. Neither can Jews, neither can Muslims. And all of them, since they all worship in the same God, whether they call him Yahweh, Allah, or Jehovah, they're all worshiping Enlil and can't get along with each other, fighting wars and killing each other. Where's the love in that? No, your God is not good, baby. If you worshiping Yahweh, Jehovah, Enlil, your God ain't good, but you'll find out. Yeah. But y'all, I'm down to 10%. I probably need to get off of here before it shut me down. I done already got 2 low power warnings now. So no, don't be silly to the core. I'm not saying you have to look at Jainism per se. Again, people can take anything to an extreme. You killed the fly, you just killed the fly. You'll be all right. Give yourself grace. Because guess what? You probably ate some chicken too. You probably ate a pork chop or two, had a ham sandwich or a fish burger, whatever. You'll be all right. Okay. But in any event, I thank you so very much for hanging out with me today. I will be back. I'm going to try to actually make it in right at 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, or I might even come in at 7 if I can, but probably around 8. I will have the phone charged up better. I'll do a little bit of some research and taking some more detailed notes. So we will get into the Gospel of John. We'll look at some stuff in Revelation. Like I say, I don't mind backtracking a little bit. I have covered some of these subjects before, but we've got new folks coming into the Soul family. So I'm more than happy. We'll talk about them some more. You got questions, we're going to find answers. We're going to figure this thing out, folks. We all just walking each other home. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much again for joining me today. I love you, love you, love you so much. Soul family, peace and blessings to you. Please do a solid and give the video a thumbs up if you haven't on the way. Maurice, if I don't, trust me, Apple gonna shut me down. I'm at 9% now. And when you're doing video and stuff that's high data, it's not gonna go all the way to 0. It's literally gonna shut this phone down somewhere around 4, 5, or 6%. I don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Like Rahul just said, subscribe to the channel. I will be coming live again tomorrow. Like folks say, if long as I got life in my body, I will be here tomorrow at 8. We'll go ahead and have this discussion. We can entertain some more questions. I'll work on some of those notes and things. All right. Peace and blessings to you, soul fam. Namaste. Love you. I'm out. See you tomorrow. Thank you.